All right.
So what's
Yeah.
up, everybody? You're watching Yaheard TV. I'm your host, Markatech, and tonight we have another very, very special guest, Harlem native, international
No
DJ.
doubt.
He's done radio, he's done stadiums. He's currently Lil Nas X's tour DJ. He's got big business things going down. It's that DJ Broadway. What's up, man?
What's
It's
up,
that
man?
Broadway.
What's
It's
going on?
Broadway, that DJ, right in the mix,
Yeah,
right here on
man.
Yaheard TV. How you doing, my man?
I'm really good, man. I'm all right, man. I'm
Good,
all
good,
right.
good. We want to
Yeah.
start at the beginning, but I didn't
Mhm.
I said it off camera, but I want to say it on camera again. Congrats on
Uh-huh.
recently getting married and settling
Thank
down.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Yup. And also congrats on all your success.
Thank you for real. Appreciate
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
man. Real appreciation, man.
Okay, so let's take it back to the beginning. So you're from Harlem, correct?
Yes. I was waiting for somebody in the back to say Chicago, but that didn't happen, and I was worried. So,
Okay,
it's
so
just an inside joke. I'm
okay,
from
right.
Chicago too, man. So,
Okay, so you claim
but
both cities because I
I
saw
claim Delaware too, man.
that's where we met. That's where we met. We'll get into
Yeah,
that.
so like all of these places that I've lived in Philadelphia, I've lived in Maryland, I've lived a lot of places, man. So a lot of places are home to me, man. I'm a well-traveled guy and I've lived everywhere, so I kind of know the culture in a lot of different places, man. So, but Harlem is the beginning to everything.
Okay, so it started in Harlem, and
Yeah.
I saw that you went to elementary school with Cameron and rest in peace Huddy Six. Is that true?
So that picture is not even public. That's kindergarten.
Wow.
That's we all went to Shelter in Arms kindergarten. So actually me, Big L, Cam, Huddy. I mean, we was, milk trays and story time and nap time. A lot of us, that neighborhood is not that big, man. You know what I'm saying? It's really only 55 blocks
Right.
east to west. So if you didn't grow up with somebody, you play basketball with them. If you didn't play basketball with them, you might have hustled with somebody. But it was just like clusters of cool crews everywhere. You know what I'm saying? This is before any gangs were like even prevalent. So this was I would like to see a world where they could be their own entrepreneur. And that was the beauty of Harlem. You didn't have to be this crew. You could make your own crew. And y'all, as long as y'all was fresh, y'all was you established yourself as a crew, and it was independent. You didn't have to be under umbrella or anything. You could just come up with what you come up with, and that's what it was, man.
So how did you get into DJing? Because I know that, before the digital era, the DJ in any community was a really special person because everyone didn't have equipment. So,
Right.
in a tight-knit community, that one DJ would be that person, getting the work and everything like that. So how did you get into DJing, and who were some of the first DJs that not only inspired you like you heard them, but how about maybe some of the ones you saw personally?
Well, my mom's a DJ, so that's the first DJ I ever saw was my mom
Oh,
DJ,
really?
and luckily the
Does she have a
living room was the club.
does she have a DJ name, or she just DJ for her
I
friends?
don't remember, but she DJ with legendary DJs, man. Grandmaster Flowers, she was in his crew. You know what I'm saying? What's the other guy's name? I want to say Moonchild, but I'm saying it wrong. Probably she can kill me for saying it wrong. But my mom hung around DJs, so she collected records, got her own turntables, and basically the living room was the dance floor, and she would invite people over, and I would just see people listening to her DJ. So I like the first person I ever. That's when I knew that's what I wanted to do because I like the reaction off of everybody. Then, growing up in Harlem, I grew up across the street from Lincoln Projects, and that's where some of the legendary park jams were held. You know what I'm saying? With Masters of Ceremony, Grand Poobah, um, uh, Just Ice, I think. Who did Latoya? That was
Just
Just Ice,
Ice,
right?
Just Ice. Yeah,
Latoya. I remember hearing that
Latoya.
song. Yeah, I remember that song, hearing that song like on repeat in the park. You know what I'm saying? And I would sneak out the house and just go to the park jams. And you know, it wasn't supervised. It was dark, so it was dangerous. We shouldn't have been there, but it was just a vibe. The music, you know, when hip hop was beginning, you know, it was just what we did as an alternative to the negative things that were going on in the street. So we ran to the hip hop when the DJ plugged in. You saw those turntables and those records came. See, like DJ was king. You know, then the MC was the add-on to the DJ. So when you saw a DJ wheeling his equipment in or wheeling his crates in, you was like, oh, it's a big deal. You know, and we wanted to be that guy, man. A lot of us couldn't afford the records. So luckily my mom had records. So I was just playing with those records. But was dope about the records that were coming out when in the 70s and the 80s, is those records are still able to be played today. So then when they were hot, you know what I'm saying?
Timeless.
You got to understand that the Hall of Notes and all of them joints.
Yeah. I noticed the De La Soul shirt too. I think that's a De La Soul shirt, right? You're like,
oh, see, look, my wife doesn't like this shirt at all because she doesn't know, and you recognize what it is. It's a made by Mars, my boy DJ Mars in Atlanta, man. He recreated the De La Soul Daisy Age logo and put it in his. So I told him, I said, look, this is like my favorite shirt because nobody would recreate the De La Soul thing. And he did. And I was like, I'll buy anything that has this logo and this type of print and font on it. And so I wear this quite often, man.
That's awesome. It's cool to see De La Soul finally get their publishing straight. And
yeah, man.
Yeah, right. And we'll get into the business stuff later. So you're in New York, you know, your mom's DJing. Yeah. How do you get the connection to Chicago? Where does that happen? Does that happen later?
I grew up. So if you watch the Kanye documentary, what is it, Genius? Is the fellow in there by the name of Grav. His name is Andrew, you know what I'm saying? And he grew up in the building adjacent to 65. That's Riverton in Harlem. And his house was like the melting pot for like all of the MCs.
I'm sorry,
from the neighborhood. Like we all asked.
You froze up for a second. I just want to make sure that the person you're referencing gets the acclaim that you want them to have.
So his name is Grav, short for Gravity. His name is Andrew Kirkland. Pops Kirkland is his father, who was able to he gave Marley Marl his first pair of turntables. So my lineage for DJing comes from like a whole lot of angles. We'll get into that. But I grew up in a building adjacent to his, and you know, his mom opened her doors to me to forever come over there and hang out, eat. And this was like the melting pot for all the creatives, like the comedians, the MCs, the DJs. And I wasn't really DJing hard body like that. I was like, in Harlem, you got to develop your confidence. And that when I was young, I didn't have all of the confidence yet, because if you came outside and you wasn't ready and it sounded a certain way, you know, you'd be deemed whack. So you really tried to you know, get it together before you brought it out to the public. So, you know, I was undercover DJing, but I could also rap. So I was just rapping with them because that's the only other thing we had besides video games and, you know, playing basketball, you know what I'm saying? So,
and you know, we'd be in the house and I will say from that era, people who were into hip hop seem to be more multifaceted because you just kind of dug the whole, you know, all angles of it. So there, you know, there's a lot of DJs who used to rap, a lot of rappers who can cut a little.
It's different than now. Like rappers don't hang out with DJs and DJs don't hang out with graph artists and breakers don't. You got to understand all of these people in one place together always at the same time. So, you know, you're going to pick up graffiti because you hang with your man that tag all day. You're going to pick up DJing a little bit if your man's a DJ and you're always at his house. Or if you're a rapper and he's playing those instrumentals, you're going to end up writing to those instrumentals. So I haphazardly learned how to rap because all of those guys were rapping and I didn't want to be left out because they were going to my boy Kwanzaa's crib, the Big Q, which was Hazmat, and they would go over there with DJ Breakdown and they would make mixtapes. And you got to spit a 16 on there, but this mixtape within the neighborhood, it said something. If you was on there spitting, everybody was like, yeah, you could rap. And so I got on my first Butterman mixtape. I was on there with Grav, Dayrek. I was on there with the whole posse, and my verse was decent. I ain't gonna say it was spectacular, but it was good enough to be on the mixtape. So
Right.
from there, they was just like another friend of mine, Gator. You know, he went to Cardinal Hayes. He from Lincoln Projects.
Okay.
He was a real wordsmith, and he really taught me bar structure and how to write rhymes. So now I know how to rap now. You know,
Right.
so
Right. So what age were you when you left New York?
oh man, maybe 18 and 19, 18, 19.
And
Then I
how was
came.
that? Was that a culture shock, or was it something that you had been back and forth to Chicago before? But was it a culture shock going from the New York hip hop scene, and you're into hip hop and you're all the way in, and now you're in Chicago? How
No,
did
it didn't
that
go to
play out?
Chicago yet. See, in 1995 and 96, I came to Delaware to work at ACS, which is a branch of. It was a credit card company. You know, all of the banking.
Yeah, because all the banks
Delaware
are in
has those banking
Delaware.
institutions
And
in
I met you.
Delaware.
I met
And
you through Sam. I met you through Sam's
through
music.
Sam at
You know,
Sam's
Sam.
Music. So I'm getting to that part because this is the first time I moved to Delaware. You know, they kind of, Brooklyn, my mom and them were like, I had a set of cousins, you know what I'm saying, that were in Delaware doing very well with themselves, working in banks at the time. You know, they were paying fever well. And so my cousins was making good, decent money. And I'm not talking regular for an 18-year-old making 50, 60,000 in 1995. We was kind of rich.
Yeah.
So I came down here with my New York. I came down there with my New York flow, and I emerged really quickly in the banking scene only because we were coming in there, starting as customer service reps, ending up as managers and stuff like that. So I was down in Delaware from 95 to 97. Now I almost got shot in Delaware in 97.
Oh man.
I gotta save that story for the book, but I
Yeah, I was
almost
gonna
got
say
shot
we
in
don't even have to talk about that, but you know what I mean. I was gonna
yeah,
even discourage you because that's probably a whole hour in
yeah.
itself,
So
you know.
I'm giving you the real
And
history.
you
So I
wouldn't be the
moved back
first,
to New
and
York.
you wouldn't be the first and only one who started a sentence with that.
Yeah, yeah. So I came back to New York in 97. I worked at Chase Manhattan, and then I moved back to Delaware in 2001. And that is where I needed records. So I joined Jazzy J's uncle. So he signed me up for Al Pizarro's record pool. And then I needed records in Delaware. And it was only at that time, maybe 2 or 3 record stores. But the most reputable one, they was like, you got to go see Sam 40. So I go see Sam, and he just sees something in my eye. I don't know what it was from the first time I met him. He was like, whatever you trying to do, we going to do it. And I'm going to be the financial back into it. So Sam was like, if I have, I think me and Sam and Doobie, we threw the first sneaker ball Delaware ever. And it was a sneaker party at a firehouse. And I want to say we did overwhelmingly well. Somebody has this flyer somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's when you used to rent the fire halls out. Remember that? You used to rent out the fire halls at the different places in Delaware, like, or the Nerd Temple or different.
That definitely the Nerd Temple. And that's why I met you at East End Cafe.
Groove Lounge.
Over at Groove Lounge, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
that's the classic era.
That was an era where, so people say they know Philadelphia hip hop, but they don't remember that you guys had the Ram Squad down there. They don't remember a lot of things. You had the Game.
We had Camp Low. We had
Camp Low. A lot of things were going on.
We had hieroglyphics, and then
hieroglyphics. It was a lot going on.
You would DJ. You would DJ every week. You were on the tables.
I DJ'd. Yeah,
That
I
was dope.
loved East End Cafe, man, and the Groove Lounge. That was our what could I relate that to? That was maybe our Black Lily down there. That
Yeah,
was our
yeah,
own
or
little
almost
Black
like
Lily.
Eminem's joint when that they had in the church, you know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like kind of like
That was
right around that same time too. Like, you know, so
yeah.
you know,
That was our hip hop, huh?
oh no, I was gonna say, that's interesting because I bet all around the country, due to whatever the nature of the industry was at the time or the entertainment business, there were a lot of little, like, I guess you could consider them mom and pop stores, but of like entertainment all around the country, like people bubbling up before Live Nation owned every venue and billboard, you know?
Before all of that, like this was, and we're talking about 2001 to roughly 2006, and I think all of the clubs in Delaware just closed. And so I moved back to New York, and at this time I had met Skrilla in Delaware. I met him at East End Cafe, matter of fact.
Okay.
And Skrilla, this is when we had the Sidekick One, and Skrilla gave me a whole bunch of contacts. I don't know what it was. He had contacts galore, and he gave me A&Rs in New York. He gave me what's Ludacris's manager's name? Shaka. He gave me
Shaka.
Shaka's. He gave me Shaka, and then he gave me Dan Green. That was at Koch Records.
Yep.
So I get to New York. I packed the Honda up. I get to New York. I'm back at my mom's house. And the first day I get there, because I'm such a hustler, I hit the contacts and I was like, yo, I want to come work at this record label. So Shaka was like, this is how I met Brian Gaffey.
Okay.
Because he worked for Shaka. So I go down, Brian Gaffey gives me these envelopes and he's like, yo, you got to seal these envelopes and send them all to the DJs. So I did that for like a day, but it was intern work, no pay. But I'm in the building. I'm in the building where I need to be.
What?
But
just your foot in the door back then, just to even when they would even let you in the office back then, you'd be like, "What? I'm in the raucous office." Like,
yeah. And so my tongue is tasting like envelope, and so I hit Dan Green, and Dan is like, you know, Koch is across the street. He's like, "Come upstairs," and Dan said, take these flyers. And this is when you used to like posterize blocks with like promo shit.
7th and Varick. I took 7th and Varick in front of SOBs.
Yeah, you used to post the board and stack the posters, right?
Yeah.
And so I was doing that and they paid me $100. And he was like, you know, I can pay you like $100 a day to do this. I was like,
I know you were like, what?
Bet. And so I'm in Koch and I'm watching Jim Jones come through. And this is when Khaled is signed. This is when Purple City. This is when and then upstairs
wasn't Grand Puba on Koch?
I think he was over there, but I didn't see him.
And y'all were also doing the WWE stuff, right? Well, didn't you have a bunch of platinum?
All of that, and you know, Koch Records does all the Pokemon stuff. Like when Pokemon Blue, that was Koch Records, and they acquired Death Row. So like, but this is before the acquisition that Snoop got. Now they
even Master P was over there. Master P was even over there.
It was a real graveyard. I was actually there when everybody got the email that we were getting fired in January because Flex's album had tanked and Snoop's album had tanked. Like nobody.
When you say Flex, you say Funk Master Flex?
Funk Flex, yeah. Flex had, I think his last volume 4 was one of those volumes was over there, and it didn't do that well, right? And so everybody got this crazy email like, we're all fired at the beginning of the year. And so Biz and Mike Moves from Movement was like, nah, come over here with us. What happened then is probably the most historical thing that could have happened for Koch because Jim's first album came out and he went gold on an indie.
Mm-hmm. That was the Ballin' one.
Oh, and no. That was On My Way to Church. So that had the
song
that had Certified Gangsters on it with him and Game. And Game wasn't.
Yeah. That was a. I mean, that was a hit. I heard that on Sirius XM yesterday. It's a classic hip hop record.
And then Khaled's first single was "We Taking Over." He had 4 number ones on the independent. So you got Jim, Khaled, rolling over there with Alan Grumblot. And then Jim's second album came out, which had Summer with Miami. It had what's the other single that was on there? There's another one that we should know. Baby Girl, right? That one did better than the first album. So now we're rolling. But in the meantime, Dan is like, come to AZ studio session. So I go to AZ studio session to meet him. I meet AZ. Everybody is in there. And they're trying to finish the album. And they don't know what to use to finish this album. You know, every album then needed a skit to complete it, to say this is a complete body of work. And so I'm sitting in the studio and I'm like, this album is called AWOL, right? So it's an Army reference. I said, why don't we use the movie Full Metal Jacket? So, and we use when Goma Pio is about to kill himself.
Yeah.
And we chop it up, we use it, and AZ is like, yo, you coming on tour with me tomorrow? And AZ really took me on tour with him the next day.
Whoa,
this is AZ.
That's
AZ. Yeah. And so now,
and
did you
have a job on tour, or you just got to chill?
So this is what you got to do for AZ, which isn't much. All you got to do is make sure he got his situation right, which is where he's going to be. But I didn't have to handle that. He had a manager. So I was like the real little kid on the road carrying a bag here and there.
Right. Just,
AZ, he's buying me clothes. He's, AZ really little bro in me. And so I went on 2 tours with A. And I went on a tour with J.R. Wright. I went on a tour with Purple City. I went on a tour. I was on the Ballin' tour with Jim. So I went on that run, and I come back in 2008, and I checked my bank account, and I got like $3.13 left in there, because I had just been wilding. Like this is when like Pelly's was hot.
Right. You just it's just going out as fast as it's coming in.
Yeah, man. And this is at the time you didn't keep an account for nothing. You just
there were no apps.
No apps or nothing. So like I called Grav, and he's living in Chicago at the time. And I'm like, yo, G, I got $3 left, but I'm cold at DJing. And you think I could get some money in Chicago? He's like, you could definitely get some money in Chicago. So I ship all my stuff to Chicago. Just like any other city I go to, I get in the street. That's why I got the nickname Streety, because I was always in the street.
Right.
So that's why people started calling me Streety, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, cool. So I get to Chicago, I start blowing up instantly. Instantly.
Like getting gigs right away.
Right away. And I'm talking, they were paying top dollar at the time. I'm in the top clubs downtown, DJing and stuff like that. And progressively from 2009 to 2015, I moved to Toronto with my boy DJ Henny V.
And what prompted you to move to Toronto? And was that a culture shock?
It was so much money they were paying out of like DJs from the States. Right. So we were getting like big checks to go to Toronto. Like this is before Drake.
Oh, I see what you mean, because you're in Chicago, so you're closer to Toronto geographically, so you can get plugged into like Toronto and hear that they're looking for DJs while you're in Chicago. I got you.
So I go to Toronto. I end up DJing at Drake's personal club, the Share Club inside the ACC. I end up DJing at every major club in Toronto, from F-Stop to Versailles to Union to Cabana. I'm in Toronto just like, this is another city I came in and just made a name for myself.
Now, when you're in Toronto, are you spinning records still, or it's switched over to Serato?
No. I converted over from records, and I stupidly, I threw them away. I threw away my entire record. I threw it away. And I converted to CDs 2009, and then it went back to Serato vinyl around 11, and then CDJs was just kind of like it because it was compact and we would just plug and play at this point, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And 2015, Toronto still had 1200. So we were using Serato with real records in Toronto going crazy.
Right.
And then in 2017, I have the notion to move to Los Angeles because I gotta see if my skills
Can
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 make
make
it.
it there. Exactly. That's like some opportunities I've had in Tokyo or London, even
Yeah,
LA, even LA. Like you when you get to a certain point, it's not even about the money. It's you have to know within your heart, I need to know if I could rock it in New York, or I need to know if I could rock it in LA.
if I can do it there, right? So I'm
So you go to
starting in New
LA,
York. I
and when you go to
started.
LA, I'm sorry, when you go to LA, is it like you did good enough in Chicago to where it's like I can go to LA by myself, or was it like you had to get a little helping hand when you first got there? You were straight and you're ready to hit the
I,
ground
I
running.
always wherever I want to go, I always go. I tour a lot, so I meet a lot of people in touring. And when I'm ready to make a move, I call those guys and be like, "Yo, I'm gonna move, and what can we get started possibly?" And so when I got to LA, a good friend of mine, DJ Mark the Spot, he said to me, he was two things he said to me. He said, "You want to be famous or you want to be paid?" And I was like, I said, I want to be paid. And then he said, well, cool. I can't let you eat off of my plate, but I got a B plate that you can eat off that entire plate. So he put me in in the hand, he put me in the hands of some real good promoters out there like Marquise Diamond, Johnny Cruz, Sincere Show. And literally, man, when people see me DJ for like 5 minutes, it's one of those on the spot interviews that you always get the job.
Right, exactly.
You
Because you
always
know the
get the
music, it's
job.
not you're in this era, but you're coming from a different era and you've been through many eras. So I totally get that. If you compare it to martial arts, it's like someone saying, hey, break these blocks, and you punch all the way and punch a hole through the floor. And they say, wow, he could have taught the person who taught me how to throw this punch that we're judging him on.
Yeah.
So I totally get
And,
it.
and fortunately about LA, it's about having the best thing. So which bag? Oh, yeah, yeah. You didn't see the bag. Yeah, man. So like I got here in sheesh, man. You know, if I apply this is what my testimony, me applying myself, something always grows. I'm not a sit down guy. I don't like to like let it come to me. I rather go to it. So I've always had this personality of not being scared to go places
Right.
and be around. You know what I'm saying? I would never frighten. So man, I ended up landing two big gigs out here. I was at Playhouse and it was at Argyle. And from there, I have a friend, his name is Cosign, one half of the interns, and the other half is 2 And I met those guys in Chicago, but they had moved to LA because they had produced Birthday Cake for Rihanna, Anaconda for Nicki Minaj, and what is the third one? There's a third one. Oh, Ass for Big Sean with Nicki Minaj on it. So they received platinum success from it. And so kind of like they were my tour guides into the music industry, into not the DJ side, but the mechanicals of how people get paid, touring, etc. And he had a budding artist, her name was Danny Lay. And, it really, it always happens really organic. Is I'm always in the room with the artist and the artist is like, I like them, bring them, let's go. And that's how it was. Every day was like brother and sister. She was on the rise. I remember when nobody wanted to listen to a Danny Lay record. We only had Summer with Friends out with All I Know, and she had very few fans. And then remember the Drake challenge happened.
Right.
And that was the challenge where everybody jumped out the car and did the dance. Well, Drake saw her do it and she went viral. I was with her the day she went viral. I looked at her phone. We were sitting at Outback Steakhouse. And she did the challenge. And her cameraman, Divide, was like, Danny, don't look at your phone. We're going to eat. And then you look at your phone.
Yeah.
When we eat and she's steady trying to look at her phone, I look at her phone and I'm like, Danny, it's at 1 million views.
Wow.
And Drake reposted it. And next thing you know, Danny was on all the news stations out here. Like the very next day, I remember press everywhere. She was like the poster girl for that dance, her and Shiggy.
Yeah.
And we were still gearing up to put her first album out. So we were creating her first album. And we just went in the studio gelling every day, coming up with concepts for everything. And then we were on a promo tour the entire year. So Danny was able to move around. That's very difficult for a new artist, is for them to be able to move around.
Yeah.
So Def Jam is her label. She was able to move around for an entire year, keeping her name really hot. And strategically, she released all of those singles. And it led up to her album, Little Baby with Easy. She sold about 4 million with Easy. Little Baby did about 1 million. And from there, she kind of became who she is now, you know. And then it was a time in between that where we parted, and it was this might have been a couple of months. This might have happened in March. We did our last show together in Vegas, and then like March went by, the Grammys went by, and then Dave Chappelle's DJ, who's DJ Trauma, there was an event he couldn't do, or a thing he couldn't do, and he recommended me for it. And I didn't know who it was for. I didn't know, but it was paying $3,000, and it was a free flight to New York. So I was like, I'm out of here. One day at work, 3,000, bet. So I show up to rehearsal for what this thing is we're doing. And the kid with the cowboy hat walks in, and I still didn't know about this song.
Yeah, because that's where let me stop you right there for a second. Because let me tell you, as a hip hop dude who, you know, before the pandemic was DJing parties myself, there's only maybe 2 records or 3 records I've ever heard in my whole life to where when you play those records, whether it's someone's grandma, grandpa, white, black, 8 years old, 9 years old. Now, to me, this is what it is. And I'm an organic hip hop dude. And people might be shocked when they hear what those 3 records are. But I'm telling you from my DJ experience, Old Town Road, Cardi B, the Bodak Yellow song.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? Because it just lit my Soulja Boy's first song. The Crank That song.
So Crunk That. Yeah.
Those are 3 songs where I've seen people who, respectable people, lose their integrity completely. Yeah, so, but now, okay. So the kid with the cowboy hat walks in, and for everyone at home who doesn't know, you know, Broadway DJs for Lil Nas X. They've been all around the world. If you follow him on his social media, what's your Twitter and your what's your Instagram?
It's The Legendary Broadway.
The Legendary
There's a website,
Broadway.
thelegendarybroadway.com, and it has all my handles on there.
You will see him rocking the biggest arenas. So okay, you're at rehearsal in New York doing a $3,000 gig that you thought was going to be the best day of your life, because not best day, but a great day of your life, just because you
had a great day because you're getting money, and they were doing it at a what do you call that? A smokehouse. So this is a barbecue spot in Red Hook. Phenomenal food. I'm getting makeup. So in my life, I've never got makeup before. I didn't know it was for Jesus and Mero on Showtime.
Right. Because when you go on TV, you have to.
I didn't know. So you got to think, I don't still know about, this is when Will Smith said to Apple Music, this is a country song, and he's a country artist, So
you're doing rehearsal, and the kid with the cowboy hat walks in.
He walks in, and he's just like one of the most humble kids I ever meet. Cool, is a fan. And this is before he came out with his sexuality and what it was going to be. So we didn't know yet. We were just kicking it, like
right.
just kicking it. And I did really good at that show, but I wasn't his DJ yet. I was just part of the band because in LA they just put bands together for like shows. So like if Enrique Iglesias has a show, they're gonna get the best drummer, best guitar, best DJ, whatever. And so I didn't know I had the job or not. I get back to LA and I was like, well, that's $3,000. I gotta try to make another $3,000 soon because LA is expensive. And I get the call, man, and they're like, I want you to be his DJ. And so I'm like, okay. I'm still not really, it's still not competing to me because you got to think, this is when the song is just making its first week at #1, second week at #1, third week at #1. And so we're touring, not even touring, he's just doing like a promo tour, but this song is skyrocketing as the days are happening. So every day
so
is a different day.
Each venue you get to, there's more people, then more people.
It's just going stupider every day. Like he's becoming larger than life every single day. Like he was the topic of conversation from May. I'm talking about we're doing the biggest arenas in the world. We're meeting the most influential people in the world because he's the poster boy for like what everybody wanted to model their kid after. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you can listen to the Cowboy. It's the Old Town Road song. Da, 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 da. Billy Ray Cyrus is on it. So it's definitely, and so I'm kicking it with Billy, Tish, Miley. This is normal. Like we just a regular day, and we're doing like Rolling Loud. We're doing I did Summer Jam in New York, like stages people die to be on.
Right.
And then he came out, I think in June. And when that happened, it's like he already had a jetpack on. Another jetpack goes on. Now we're on private jets. Now we're like, it's like being there when Prince was starting to be Prince. And so I was there for his EP release. And then the very last thing, he released Montero. I did the album release party here in LA. And now he's a megastar. Like you only can email him. Like he's like a baby Kanye, so to say. Like you can't reach this kid like that anymore. Like he's ascended. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like and then what's crazy is all of this money.
Do you still DJ for him?
If he needs me. I think everything just slowed down. The pandemic really stopped. I was in Mexico. I get a call from management. Miley Cyrus wants us in Australia by the morning. So I'm on my plane trying to get to the plane that's leaving LAX to Australia. On the plane, Tom Hanks gets COVID. They canceled the entire festival. I'm watching all of our tour dates disappear in the schedule. Like everything canceled. And I'm looking at my like master tour and they're like, this is at the time nobody knew what was going on. They didn't know how long we would be in COVID. This was the very beginning. So everybody was still in tune with each other for like the first few months. And then it started to settle in. People started to die. People got sick. And it started to like Coachella canceled, this canceled. And then he was like, well, he was in mode to release the album earlier, but Christmas came around. He did the Roblox thing. And then eventually in September of 21, he released the album Montero. And from there, it's still up in the air. You know, we're still in the pandemic now. So in the meantime, I went on tour with Tiana Taylor.
I saw that. That tour looked like a whole bunch of fun because it seemed like people were very happy to be back out. looks like everyone had a good time. You know, everyone made it home safe. So I was following
I
that.
think
You
she
guys,
can put on. I think she put on. eh, We put on a hell of a show for 30 days, man. It was like, in working with her, every artist is different. Danny's got her ways, Tiana has her ways, and Nas has her ways. But this one was like very it was choreographed to the nine. Like
mhm,
her show is based on choreo. And she's very specific on how she wants it, how she wants the pageantry to look, stuff like that. So it was different because rehearsal was very intense. With Nas's rehearsals, we got graham crackers over there, fruit punch over there, pizza over there. Danny's session, we smoking it, over. But her sessions is like you just get a bottle of water and you better kick some ass.
right,
Not that
right,
she
right.
couldn't afford those things, but she's very focused on what the show should look like. So I had to be focused on another level. And at the end of the shows, her parents, they'll let you know if you messing up or not. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And so of course, I've never messed the show up, but there'll be conversations if you miss the cue. Just
Right,
just
right,
know
right.
that there'll
Professional.
be a meeting about it.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Wow.
um, yeah, I was able to do my job very, very well. So, and that tour ended. I saw that she's trying to go back out, maybe top of June.
Okay.
So we're trying to get back in the swing of things after the pandemic. But for now, I don't know. I like touring, but I want to get into the executive field now. I feel like I got a lot of uh, uh, um, I had time under my belt. Experience, what I wanted to say. I have experience in knowing what to do with artists, how to develop them. I do a lot of coaching.
Mhm.
And so now I want to get into the other side of it where I'm actually the executive now, maybe having some input on the direction of how these projects come out. I can, you know, also have like classes that are built for assimilation.
Mhm.
So there are other fields that I'm going into now because, up and down on that plane, you know, it can wear you out.
Yeah.
People think touring is easy, but it's probably one of the most strenuous things you can do with your body because
Absolutely. All the
you really
traveling,
don't get
different time
rest.
zones, traveling
Yeah, and
period, you
then
know?
you just don't show up to the show. You got to go to sound check. If they want to have a 6 in the morning meeting about something, I think the final. I don't even know if there's a final level for touring for me because I went with one of the biggest artists in the world. But I in my mind, I feel like Beyonce is gonna give me that call any day. I've been having premonitions about this, but I see her rehearsals and her rehearsals. I don't think I could just, in rehearsals, because I'm good at what I do, I'm able to manipulate rehearsal and say, you know, I'll come in for an hour, I'll do a couple of moves, see what's
Right.
going on, high fives, peace. I've seen her rehearsals, and I don't care who you are, you're in there as long as she is.
Ooh.
And so I want to see what that's like. So I want a show with Beyonce. I've done the VMAs, the Grammys, and all of that, but I want to see how intense can I survive Beyonce's workout. Her
We're gonna
dancers,
I was gonna say we're gonna put that out into the universe. We're gonna put that out
yeah,
there.
we
You know what I
put it
mean?
out. I want to work with her bad because I think I like artists that are into showmanship. So if you're into making your show really special, I want to be a part of it because I always feel like I have something to add and make the show this. So that's why I was hired for all of these jobs because DJing for me became bigger than just DJing in a club. It was like I was able to DJ in Glastonbury. I'm the first African American DJ to ever DJ at Glastonbury stage, and that was in
Love
front
it.
of 200,000 people in London, actually Glastonbury, United Kingdom. And when I tell you the nervousness, so backstage is like luxury. It's like everybody. It's like super duper stars. Like Madonna's back there or
Right,
something. Everybody's back
right.
there just, and I'm talking about the spread back there. You're eating all kind of cheeses, all kind of, they're slicing it.
Everything.
Everything is like, what do you need? What do you need? You want a Merlot? And I'm just like, I just need some Merlot. And I was unrelaxed. And so Billy Ray Cyrus is probably one of the coolest he's probably one of the coolest guys in the world. Cause he saw that I was nervous and he passes me his joint. And he's like, smoke it. And I smoke it. He was like, just look into the sun. We're supposed to be here today. Now you go outside and you bring me out. And if you look at on YouTube, I bring him out. And he just walks.
Bring him out.
Yeah, man. That was a special moment because that's like being on stage with Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
Jimmy
yeah.
passes you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, bring me out, man. And I brought out Billy Ray. And I was on the stage with Miley, Billy, and Nas at the same time. So I was able to, that was probably the craziest thing, being on stage with like 3 very well-known artists. And that hasn't happened before on a Glastonbury stage. So that was one of the most incredible moments for me. And y'all guys got to realize his song is only 1 minute 48 seconds.
Yeah. It's
so
not
I'm
long.
like literally on and off stage. And then I'm back in the green room and it's just tons of executives back there like, great job. Oh my God. And they're just like showering you with praise, food.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Over
and
2
you're
minutes.
Backstage with like for 2 minutes and I was living in my glory. And then the next day in London, we go to the Wireless Fest and we do that with Cardi B. And that's that was the day before. So I did a show with Cardi.
Right.
And then when we're getting off a stage, our security gets a phone call and they're like, Janet wants to see him. And I'm like, who's Janet? They're like, Jackson. In her trailer. I have the video of it. And I said, Janet Jackson wants to meet him. I said, let's go. We walk in the trailer, bro, and it's Penny. And her voice is just like Michael's, and I'm sitting there like I'm fanning out inside. I'm fanning out. Oh my.
How could you
I can't hold the phone. I can't really hold the phone because my hand is shaking. I'm like, nobody's gonna believe I'm in Penny's trailer. And she's like, you want to hang out? And I'm like, say yes. I'm like, say yes, bro.
Oh man, that is great.
So we're in the trailer with Janet, man, like that London trip. And then we went to Paris. I think we went to Paris to do BBC and I'm on TV. I'm literally, and then I'm walking through the streets of Paris, like surreal for a hood kid. I'm literally walking through the cobblestone streets. And so, of course, I'm a foodie. The first night, the food was excellent, right? But then I was like, I want to go to an authentic Italian. I went spaghetti. And I was disappointed.
Oh, man.
I was disappointed.
Yeah, man. Yeah, one time in
Paris
France.
Was disappointing on the food. I ain't going front.
Yeah. Yo, one time in France, it was late at night, and I ordered a burger. And I had to, I'm not really a picky person. I had to send it back. I was like, yo, you got to cook this burger more. Like, I'm traveling. I eat this pink old burger.
You know what I found in London? This is the best thing I found because I had, they don't cook their food with the same agents we cook our food with. So that's why we get the fries that taste like that. They don't use that because it kills you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So they're not allowed to use what we use on food. So the soda tastes different, the meat tastes different.
Right.
And so I go to Five Guys, lose. I lose. I go to McDonald's, lose. I go to Burger King, lose. And so I'm like, we end up just eating that, downstairs in the morning, they have breakfast and it's croissants and bread. You can't mess that up.
Mhm.
And so I like the second and third day, I'm tired. I'm like, I'm not gonna eat bread this whole trip.
Yeah, the whole time.
And so I'm walking, I'm a sneaker aficionado. So I'm on a sneaker hunt. I'm like, all right, I'm about to go buy sneakers today. I turn this corner in London. It's a Jamaican store. And it's a
Oh
little
yeah.
old black lady in there. And I walk in there and I'm smelling the aromas and I'm like, wait a minute, could it be? Oh, snap. Oh, I gotta start getting ready for this party, Tech.
Okay, yeah. Listen, man. We could always do part 2. Get ready for the party, because in part 2, I'm
Yeah,
asking who your
man.
top 5 DJs are. Oh man, it was an
I
honor to
got
get
you,
up with
man.
you, and that's how real
It's
you
an
are. You
honor,
know what I mean?
man.
Cutting it short for the party. That's classic
I don't even
Broadway.
mean
I
to,
love
but
it.
I just got the signal. I gotta go.
Hey man, thanks for chopping it up,
So let
man,
me
on
get
your
it
Heard
together.
TV.
Absolutely, man.
And I
Absolutely.
hope to
Holler
see you
at me so
soon.
we can finish.
Yes, sir.
Peace,
Part 2
bro.
coming
All
soon,
right.
y'all. Peace.
Yes, sir.